What is going on, everyone? Welcome back to a brand new video. My name is Matteo de Venuto. Today we are doing a Q&A. I've asked you guys for some questions over on my Instagram late last week, so I'm gonna be answering those. I apologize for the delay. It took me a little while to start recording this, and I've had to record it. This is actually the second time I recorded it since yesterday. I was staring at myself. I have a monitor that I can look at myself, and I was just staring at it, so it just looked like that the entire video. Anyways, I'm gonna try my best to look at the lens today and get through these questions. So, first question is one that I get quite a bit, especially after my last video. If you haven't seen it, it's a day in the life. So if you wanna go watch it, it's gonna be somewhere up here. And the question is, what's the app you use for journaling? Is it Notion? So yes, it is Notion. I know a lot of people use Evernote, but I personally prefer Notion. I pretty much use it for absolutely everything. It goes from all of my journaling for my trades, all of my forecasting, all of my back testing, my ASR, all of my notes. I even use it for some personal stuff. I have my reading lists of books that I want to read. I have all of my YouTube videos that I'm trying to plan, and so yeah, I absolutely use it for everything. I love that you can customize it and make your own little dashboard or workspace, however you want to call it. So I definitely recommend you to check it out. So yeah, next question is, when have you joined FALCON Trading Guidance? So great question. I actually looked at the exact date that I joined. I always thought it was December 2018, but I just found out that it was actually October. So yeah, I've been pretty much saying it's been a year since I've been in FALCON, for about a year. So it's almost a year and a half actually. So yeah, October 2018. Where do you reside? I currently reside in Monaco. It's a small country that's it's surrounded by France and very close to the border of Italy. So I'll put a map on the screen, so if you don't know where it is, it's a little easier to understand. So yeah, it's a pretty cool place. Very different from probably any other place in the world. But if you have any other questions about Monaco, feel free to let me know, and I would gladly answer them. Next question is, how long did you take to reach consistency? This is a great question. I always get it quite a bit in my DMs. It's actually something I'm still working on. I'm definitely becoming much more consistent lately, and it's definitely a focus for this year, is to try and reach consistency at some point. I'm obviously not rushing anything. Been in FALCON for a year and a half now, or almost a year and a half, and yeah, there's no rush. I'm focused on the long-term goals, and not trying to rush anything, so it will happen when it happens. I'm definitely starting to see better results than in the past, so that's always good. But yeah, I don't consider myself consistent yet. How much time have you spent trading at first? So to answer the question, it's definitely as much time as you can. Obviously, if you have a 9 to 5, you maybe aren't allowed to be on your phone and check the charts all the time. So a lot of people do their morning routine before work and do some forecasting, and then when they get back, do some more forecasting, some back testing and stuff like that. So definitely try and spend as much time on the charts as possible, especially at the beginning, and yeah, try and learn as much as you can and get as much experience as possible. And if you're asking how much time I spend now, you've probably seen it on my day in the life, but I try and spend as much time on the charts as possible. I always have the charts open, as you can see there in the background, and I'm always monitoring something, whether I'm trading or not. My charts are always open, and yeah, I try and do a forecasting session in the morning, a forecasting session at night, and in between I do some back testing, probably an hour or two, depends on the day, of back testing. And yeah, on weekends I do quite a bit of analysis to build my watch list and going into the week ahead. So that's pretty much what I do on the charts. I don't know how long it takes me, but yeah, I try and spend as much time as possible. Any moving averages you use, if I may ask, and what values or any primary indicators? Great question. I actually do not use any indicators at all. In Falcon, we focus on the price action, so we don't use any indicators whatsoever. As you can see, the charts in the background, there's absolutely nothing on it, except some trend lines and some ray lines and stuff like that, but no indicators whatsoever. Obviously not that they don't work, it's just personal preference. Next question is, what's better, using news, so fundamental, or technical analysis? So there's not one that's better than the other, it's just as I said already, personal preference, and depending on your strategy. Obviously I personally use price action, so it's technical analysis, but yeah, I know very successful people that use fundamental analysis and are doing very, very well for themselves, and I know traders that use technical analysis that are doing equally as well. So it depends on your strategy, what you feel more comfortable with, and yeah, I'd say that's my recommendation. Next question is, would you take the third trade if you took 2 losses on the same opportunity following your plan? So absolutely yes. It's something I've thought quite a bit about when I was doing my trading plan, how many losses I was willing to take before actually not taking the trade anymore. So this goes into 2 main things. First of all, if I'm following my plan. If I'm following my plan and I took 2 losses, I will, with no issue at all, take the third trade on it. The second thing is whether it's a valid or a high probability trade. So if I took 2 valid trades on a pair and I'm looking at a third trade and it's a valid trade as well, then probably I wouldn't take 3 valid trades in a row. Now, if we're talking about the first one was a valid trade, ended up in a 1% loss. The second one was, let's say, an override at a double top. Took that 1% loss again, and then we reached the outer structure and we're looking at another position from the outer structure, which in the Falcon strategy, it's a much higher probability from the outer structure than the override from the double top or just another valid trade. So then at that point, I would obviously take the higher probability one from the outer structure, even if I took 2 losses before, just because that could be the trade that ends up banking you 10%. And at that point, the 2% loss is just doesn't mean anything anymore because you just net 8% profit. So yeah, it just depends whether the trades fit your plan and whether it's a valid or high probability trade. So I hope that makes sense. But yeah, I would definitely take the third trade if it fits my plan. Next question is, how do you determine how many lots you buy or sell? Great question. I personally use a indicator on MT4, which is called position size calculator. You can download it and add it onto your MT4 if you use that. And you can enter your entry point, your stop loss, and your risk percentage, and it will just tell you how much you have to buy or sell. If you don't use MT4 or if you don't want to download stuff, you can just Google position size calculator on Google. You will probably find one by Baby Pips, and there's a few others, I believe. And yeah, you just write the price you're entering at, the price of your stop loss, your risk percentage, and it will just tell you how much you have to buy. It's very simple. Next question. This is actually not a question, but since I couldn't answer those since they were in the little Instagram question form, I still wanted to feature it. It's by Yo Gay Ferris. Sorry if I pronounce it wrong. But it says, keep working, bro. Falcons only fly high. Your work ethic is contagious. I really appreciate it. It means a lot. And I thank everyone who sends positive messages on my Instagram. I try to answer back to as many as possible. And yeah, thank you so much, man. Really appreciate it. It means a lot seeing the support from other fellow traders, and it definitely keeps the motivation going. So thank you so much. Next question is, what computer setup do you run for 4 monitors? Great question. I actually have a desktop PC right under my desk. It's an old gaming PC that I've had for about I'd say 6 years maybe. So it's pretty old. If you're interested in the specs, I'll try and put them somewhere on the screen. But it's nothing crazy. There's 2 graphic cards. So that allows me to run 4 monitors with no issue. So there's definitely, if you're looking at a desktop PC to run multiple monitors, you can probably find some pretty cheap ones that will run 4 monitors with no issue. Obviously the 4 monitors are definitely unnecessary. It's just personal preference. I like being able to multitask and having multiple charts and things up on the monitors at the same time. So yeah, you definitely don't need 4. It's a little overkill. Even I sometimes am thinking to remove a few and just keeping 2 monitors, because that I don't think you need more than 2, to be honest. But yeah, they're here, so might as well use them. Next question is, what strategy did you use as a day trader? I actually haven't done much day trading. I did mess around with it a little bit, but I'm more focused on Forex at the moment. And yeah, so I use a FALCON strategy for Forex trading. But yeah, other than that, I don't do much more. Your trading recap for this week, please. So I believe you were asking for last week, because it's now Wednesday. So yeah, last week I actually ended up at almost a break even. I took a 1% loss on pound Aussie, and I closed pretty much just under 1% on dollar CAD. So that was last week. This week I closed a position on Euro Swiss for about 0.76%, 0.8%, something around that area. So yeah, I'm not gonna go into details as they're not very interesting trades. It's just trades that didn't play out, and I managed to lock in a little bit of profit instead of break evens. But yeah, it's just trades that didn't end up playing out. I will be doing a trade recap sometime in the future. I'm not entirely sure if it's gonna be this month or next month. We'll see what happens in the market and what I think is more valuable to share with you guys. Next question. Hi, on which instrument is it better to open a deal for the long term? So I don't believe there's any instrument that is better than the other for long term plays. If the opportunity is there, then take it. That's what I do. I'm looking at some long term opportunities on Euro dollar, Aussie dollar, on Aussie Kiwi, and on Euro CAD. There you go. So that's pretty much what the longer term plays I'm looking at for this year. But yeah, it needs some more development. Many of them need a little bit more development before we can get involved. So yeah, there's not like pairs that are better than the others. It's just whatever is in your plan, and yeah, if there's an opportunity in the markets or not. Next question. How did you fund your trading account? Did you have a day job or something else? So yes, I did have a job for a little bit, for almost a year. Back in 2018, I believe I worked almost the entire year. I made a little bit of money that I was funding my trading account with. I also got some money from my parents, which they helped me out to fund my account as well. And I'm currently doing some graphics design on the side. And it's not something I'm looking to scale a lot, but I do make a little bit of money from one client. And yeah, every month I use that money to fund my trading account and to compound it and grow it a little bit. So yeah, that's how I fund it and grow my account currently. So your targets. So I believe you're asking about take profits. This is actually an interesting question, and it's related to the next question as well. So I don't actually set take profits or profit targets. I just let the trades run and I move my stop loss. So when the trades start running in profit, I then move my stop loss to break even, and I then keep moving the stop loss higher and higher, obviously based on the structure. So yeah, I can be more aggressive with my stop loss or less aggressive depending on the areas we are in. So I'm usually more relaxed at the top or bottom of structures, and as we go to the middle, I get a little more aggressive, and as we get to the bottom of the structure, if we're in a sell position, then I start getting more aggressive. What does it mean exactly? It's, for example, if I see that a larger structure is forming, I will leave a little more space between the stop loss and the price and where the price is at least it can correct and then keep moving in the direction of the trade. And obviously if we're seeing a reversal pattern or retraces, I will then be more aggressive and put the stop loss closer to the price. At least I don't give much profit back to the markets. I hope that made sense. Next question is pretty related to it, is how do you set your stop loss? So I set my stop loss based on the structure as well. So we have a descending channel, we get a 1 hour retrace, and I enter after that 1 hour retrace. Then I will put my stop loss below the 1 hour retrace, obviously giving a little bit of space depending on the structure, but anything between 15, 30, 35 pip stop on most pairs. So yeah, it's pretty self-explanatory. There's nothing really crazy about my stop loss placements. If there's a wick, it will be below or above the wick, depending whether it's a buy or a sell, but it's nothing crazy. Next question is how much to backtest each setup before adding it to your trading plan, or how to build it. Yeah, I definitely recommend you to get around a year of data back tested for each pair that you decide to trade and put in your trading plan. Obviously that's quite a bit to do at first, but yeah, slowly try and get through it. I wouldn't recommend you trading pairs that you haven't back tested before, or if you do, maybe take positions with a lower risk. So if you do like I do, which I risk 1% per position, so it's 1% of my account balance per position that I take, then maybe if you haven't back tested, take a position with a 0.25% of risk, so 1/4%. At least you won't be losing much money if it doesn't work out. So yeah, either way, I think you should back test pairs before trading them. It's very helpful. I personally, after back testing, decided to not trade almost all the Swiss pairs except 2 or 3, just because they're a bit unreliable in my opinion, and I'm not comfortable trading them. So yeah, back testing helps a lot in that regard. Next question is, what is the best time to trade? I don't believe there's a best time to trade. I personally trade the London and the New York session just because it's during the day for me. The Asian session is during the night when I sleep. So yeah, there's not really any better time to trade. You can trade the Asian session and be equally as successful. Yeah, it just depends on your time zone and when you can be on the charts. So that concludes today's Q&A. I thank everyone that submitted questions. If I didn't answer your question, I apologize, but I will probably be making more videos like this in the future. So either way, I hope you enjoyed it. Make sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you did. If you haven't checked out my previous video, it's a day in the life. You can go and check it out up here. So yeah, I can catch you guys on my Instagram. If you have any more questions that you would like me to answer, you can leave them down below or DM me on Instagram. I will gladly help you out and answer your questions. But other than that, thank you so much, and I'll see you next time.